What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I thought it'd be fun to do a Pokemon tier list in honor of, the fact that we're in just like the Pokemon news cycle, and since nothing has really happened recently, I think it would make a lot of sense for me to just go ahead and give my opinions on Pokemon, because obviously everybody cares about that shit. So we have S, A, B, C, D, and then haven't played. There's only one game here that I have not played. I've played pretty much every other game, and I'm gonna start with that one being Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I haven't played it, and I have a personal reason for it. I know that this is like the best looking Pokemon game in terms of like graphics that don't look like crusty, but I still feel like it wasn't worth me wanting to play. I feel like I didn't like the go catching mechanics. I didn't like how they were just doing red and blue again, but then they also had like manga characters that were showing up in there, like the manga iterations of those characters and stuff. I was just really not a fan. So that's the only reason I haven't played it, though. I think it looks pretty decent. I probably won't play it. Maybe, depends. I would need to be forced probably, though. But Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee haven't played, but we can start off from red, blue, and yellow. I'm gonna do both of them at the same time. Not gonna lie, I might just be biased just because it is in Kanto, and I'm not really a huge fan of Kanto games. I'm gonna put it in B, and I'm gonna put you in high B. I think this is fair. Like, I don't know. I think red and blue is just like, it's Pokemon. There's a lot of bugs and shit, but it is the thing that kicked off the series, though. Like, it's obviously a really good game, but in the context of the other games, I think that there's others that do it better. I mean, it's just Kanto. I don't know. I feel like it's just Kanto. I don't know what else I could really say about the OGs besides the fact that they're the OGs, right? They're good, though. They're good games, I think. Other than that, Gold and Silver, I'm gonna put Gold and Silver at the top of B, and then I'm gonna put Crystal at A. I'll put Yellow above Gold and Silver. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of having to trade Pokemon. So usually like the third versions of said game will be like above the other games and stuff. So like, Crystal's gonna obviously be better than Gold and Silver, but Yellow's gonna obviously be better than Red and Blue, just because of the fact that I don't have to, I can actually complete the entirety of the Pokedex without having to trade with another person, right? So I think Crystal's just better. I like Johto a lot, actually. I think Johto's like one of my favorite regions. Just because of like, I guess the way that it's designed, like the aesthetic and all that, I think it's really fun. And I just like the starters a lot more than Gen 1 as well. And the legendaries also, well, I mean, yeah, because this is like our first game where we have like legendaries for like 2 versions, so it's not just like split for really no reason, because you could still get Charizard in both red and blue. So yeah, no, I mean, Crystal makes sense here, I think, and then Yellow makes sense here. Ruby and Sapphire, I have opinions. I do have opinions. I don't want to say these games are bad, but I'm gonna put them at the bottom of B, but I will put Emerald in A. I think Ruby and Sapphire are really annoying because of the fact that the stories just have like, what, 2 teams, right? So you have Magma and then Aqua, which I think is cool that they kind of like split them up, right? But actually, it has nothing to do with that, actually. It's just the fucking water. And I know it's like, oh, too much water. No, but it genuinely, you're surfing a lot. You're using surf and dive, and you're doing all that shit. I honestly just don't like it. And another thing too, I'm not really the biggest fan of Hoenn either. Like, if I had to choose, I'd prefer Kanto over Hoenn. But on top of all that, I think that Hoenn is just, I don't know, there's just a vibe with the Pokemon that's there that I don't really rock with that much. Like, I like a lot of there's a lot of Hoenn Pokemon that I like. There's just like a few, maybe it's just the art style specifically for that generation. When Ken Sugimori was doing his art, it just felt really washed out, and I feel like that's the reason I don't like a few of the designs for the Pokemon. It's just like their original like renders just looked a little bit washed out, kind of, same reason probably Gen 3. And then also I was gonna say Gen 3, Fire Red, Leaf Green, it's good. I don't think it's that crazy though. I don't really fuck with Fire Red, Leaf Green that much. I'm not really a big fan of the art style for Gen 3 with the pixels either. I feel like the pixels just, especially compared to other games that are like on the Game Boy, like you have Golden Sun, you have what was it? Is it Super Metroid? Hold on. I forgot what Metroid game that you play on your Game Boy was, but that Metroid game, like, I'm just saying, like there's other Nintendo games that have pixel games on their console or on the Game Boy that look just better, I think. And I think Pokemon specifically doesn't look that good. Also, I know this is not necessarily this is more my fault, but I've played so many fan games where they would use the Gen 3 tile set and it just gets played out and old real fast. This has nothing to do with like the actual games. This is not the actual game's fault. I just think I have like a little bit of a biased opinion towards Gen 3 specifically because I feel like I've seen it so much, especially when it comes to like playing games on your Game Boy. Almost everybody's like, oh, you gotta play Emerald or you gotta play Fire Red, Leaf Green. And it's like, yeah, I guess, you know, I don't know. I'm just not that big of a fan. Okay, going into Diamond and Pearl, I have an opinion about Diamond and Pearl. So Diamond and Pearl I'm gonna put in C. Now I love Sinnoh. Sinnoh's my favorite region, but Diamond and Pearl are just very slow and they don't have a lot of variety for Pokemon. And I'm gonna just skip ahead and put Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl at the same exact tier. And I actually no, but I'm gonna order it right now. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are better games than Diamond and Pearl. I don't care what you say. You can go ahead and get mad about it. They're better. Like, yeah, okay, it doesn't have the same art style, which, you know, I will say Diamond and Pearl has at least going for it. But gameplay wise, they add more. You have the underground that you can explore and find little areas to catch like Pokemon that are from other regions. That's at least something, right? In comparison, the game is much faster. You can customize your character in the game. That's already a lot of stuff that the original Diamond and Pearl doesn't have. Like, yeah, there is still the issue of the game being slow. If you don't like the story of Diamond and Pearl, then you would not have liked Brilliant Diamond and Pearl either. I think it's just a lot of nostalgia that people have for the OGs that they think that Diamond and Pearl is like up there. It's really not. That's why if you played Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's just the same shit, you know? It's the same thing. It's the same fucking game, but with extra stuff added on. Like, yeah, okay, I will say the art style wise, it's not necessarily my favorite. I would say like you might be able to like debate that they could switch based on the art style, but if we're talking about like, from a pure gameplay perspective, it's not even a contest. I'm not gonna lie to you. You can go ahead and be like, well, but it's different because, you know, it's supposed to be built off of the OG, so why is it so bad? True, yeah, a lot of other remakes that you'll see that are gonna show up on this list, especially like Fire Red and Leaf Green, yes, they are better than the originals, and they also look better and they kind of like work off of them a little bit better and like bring all the new stuff. But they said from the jump that this was going to be a faithful remake to the original games. So I don't see why we acted like so surprised when everything was the same. But I get it though, we were expecting a lot of stuff from Generation 8 to carry over into this game and it having either Dynamax or just like better shit in general, whatever, I don't know. But honestly, it didn't really make sense for these games to have Dynamax just because they said in the game that only Galar is able to use it. It doesn't really matter anymore. This game's been out for years. I'm not gonna try to defend it that much, but I will say Platinum is our first S tier in the game. It takes everything that Diamond and Pearl has that I don't like and just makes it better, which is funnily enough makes it a much better game. And then the next game is also going to be doing the same thing that Gold and Silver did, and that's also going to be coming up into S tier. I will order S tier later. I feel like it's kind of hard for me to order these two, but Heart Gold Soul Silver is like one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. I think not only the art style feels like just so like vibrant without doing too much. You know, like how there's like a lot of like HD 2D games that feels like they're using a lot of the flare and shit like excessively. I feel like take that shit off, like simplify the pixelated art style like just enough to where it just feels like, I don't know, this might sound weird, it feels like I just want to eat the game. I don't know if that makes sense. Like whenever I see like the colors that they use or whatever the color palette is that they use for Heart Gold Soul Silver, it looks like candy to me. And it look, but like in a good way, you know, like it looks like I would want to eat. That's how like nicely designed it it looks. And it sounds weird. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, I would. It just looks visually that visually appealing for me, especially seeing all the like the little versions of the Pokemon following you along and shit, which is another good thing that I think they I'm glad that they brought back. And then also adding on to all of that, the whatchamacallit, going back into Kanto. I mean, yes, Gold and Silver did that also, but I do think that Heart Gold Soul Silver kind of made it feel a little bit more like a like an accomplishment when you eventually got to Red. I know that there's a lot of people that have issues with the level curve in Heart Gold Soul Silver, but in terms of like pure content and stuff to do for like the main single player story of the game, I think Heart Gold Soul Silver is like probably the best game that we've gotten in regards to content, right? Like coming into the base game, right? Okay, so Black and White, I'm gonna put at the top of A. I think they're really good games. And I would put them in S, but the fact that they have a sequel that does it better just goes and shows, like, you know, I don't know. And I'm not gonna lie, I think most of these are solid picks. There might be a couple people that would be upset by my Ruby Sapphire placement of this. I'm just not a fan. I don't know. It's just the vibes. The vibes for Ruby and Sapphire, I'm not fucking with. But Black and White has a really good story. I think it has a better story than Black 2, White 2. But I think like it just feels so much more tied in and connected when we actually get the sequel, and then you get to see Kyurem actually become a cool ass Pokemon with either Kyurem Black or Kyurem White, and then also having the fact that you could transfer your trainer from the first game and have your same team being you could battle against your team from the first game in the sequel is fire. That shit's so cool, and I like actually seeing the development of people and stuff. It's cool that they actually showed that for the first time. Well, not for the first time in Pokemon. I know that Gold and Silver or Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Fire Red Leaf Green are like maybe a year or two apart, right? I think it's like 2 years separated. So it's not the first time that this has happened, but I will say that it's really, really cool that they even did that in the first place within the same region. Like, it does make the region feel a little bit more lived in. The fact that we can go off into like a different like little island and be like, oh yeah, this shit was always here. You're just never able to do it. And like I said, yeah, content in general, yeah, the fucking Pokestar Studios, yeah, the Pokemon World Tournament, all that shit. So cool, dude. So cool. They did a great job with that game. Another game that's on my, we'll see where it lands, right? Okay, X and Y. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I don't like X and Y that much. Not like it's bad, but it's just not that good. It's like top of C, I think. I would definitely rather play X and Y over Diamond and Pearl. I just think that a lot of the things in Kalos are just forgettable. Besides like Mega Evolutions and shit, and maybe Lumio City, those are the only two things that I remember, and everything else is from the anime. Like base game, I would not have remembered Climate. Like if there was no anime, right, I would not have remembered a majority of the characters that showed up there, right? Every other game, all those other characters, like, you know, felt memorable and shit. Bro, the only reason I remember the X and Y rivals is because I have to always prove a point to other people about remembering the X and Y rivals. But I want you to genuinely tell me, like if you're, I mean, obviously if you're a big fan, you're gonna remember. And if the X and Y is your favorite one, you're gonna remember. But if you're not, tell me who the rivals are. Tell me, please. Because really, you only have one, but you technically have three or four, I guess. You technically have four rivals, but they're not like good. They suck, actually. Genuinely, I don't think that they're that good of characters. I think it's one of those things where they tried to add too many people into the game's like story, and it just kind of felt like, I don't know, forced a little bit. Same with like the villain. The villain in this game was dog shit. Diantha's cool, but Lysander is just not that good of a villain. I think he's just kind of bad, boring. Team Flare in and of itself is boring. I think Lysander is actually not too bad, but Team Flare is just, God, just not that good. They don't leave a lasting impression. I think it's even worse, like asking like who are the Team Flare admins. Like, I mean, I think most team admins I probably couldn't name, but I could name like a couple, like fucking like Saturn, Mars, Jupiter for Diamond and Pearl. You get fucking I don't know. Anyways, I was gonna say it's even worse for Team Flare because, like, honestly, most of the Team Flare grunts like are grunts, and then the leaders are just like they have colors in their hair, and that's it. And I don't remember any of them, low key. So With that being said, I think that's another thing. There's just too many things that are forgettable about X and Y. The only person I remember from Team Flare that is like an admin is Malva, and that's because she's an Elite Four member, and that's it. But Megas are cool though. So with that being said, Oraz definitely better. I still think it's in B tier. I'm not gonna lie to you. I still think it's in B. And honestly, there's a lot of B tier shit. I might have to put you in. No, because these games are still enjoyable at least. I'll put them in bottom of A. I'll put Oraz in the bottom of A. I think Oraz is like the same issue that I feel with like it's like a remake that the only thing they add is like the megas. Whereas like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, they didn't add anything. It just felt like a remake, but like more modern. Like it was like an actual modern take of what Heart Gold, Soul Silver should have been like. Whereas Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl is like, okay, we're gonna just redo the same thing without like doing it in our style, which is why I feel like it was not as, you know, impressive to the fans that wanted to play it. And then Oraz just felt like, what if we did like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but we just throw megas on top of that? Like, and I know people like that shit. Like, I don't think it would have been as ideal. I mean, I understand just doing regular Oraz or just doing regular Ruby and Sapphire again wouldn't have necessarily been groundbreaking or like game changing or nothing, and doing it in the style of Heart Gold, Soul Silver wouldn't have been as crazy. But I just feel like they kind of just let the megas just steal the show a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously better. I would prefer playing Oraz over Ruby and Sapphire. I just feel like, I don't know. It's just the vibe. It's just a vibes thing. I don't vibe with Hoenn that much, but I will put it in A because I can recognize that it is a good game and it is a better game than the ones that are below it. Okay, Sun and Moon. Okay, so people have very like strong opinions about it. I also have strong opinions about it. I think Sun and Moon is A. Really good game. Like, very good game. Honestly, I think I'd probably prefer to play it over those three. And then Ultra Sun and Moon, I think, is even better. I think they literally just took... I know people have issues with the story for Ultra Sun and Moon, and also it came out literally a year after those games came out, so it did feel like, what was the point in buying Sun and Moon when they're gonna just do an even better version of the game, like in Ultra Sun and Moon? Like, I get that fact. It does feel like a little bit redundant, but I will say that I think the final boss for Ultra Sun and Moon makes up for it a lot, and the fact that you're able to go to other like wormhole places and shit is pretty cool. That's another thing I think was cool. Like, if I was to like to play one of these games again, I'd rather just play Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because there's barely anything of the story that changes besides the ending, right? The only thing that's different really is the end, right? And people like the more like the Lusamine fight a lot more, which I get it. I get it. Lusamine going crazy and like being knocked out is an insane thing to happen in the Pokemon game, and she's like just like in a coma for whoever knows how long. But I feel like it's also like a really sad ending for a Pokemon game, which I feel like Ultra Sun and Moon kind of just makes it end in a Pokemon way. And I know people don't really like Team Rainbow Rocket, but I think just being able to battle the fucking evil teams from past generations was pretty cool for the anniversary that they were doing. So I'm like, you know what? I'll let it slide. I think this game is genuinely better than Sun and Moon, but I think both of them are really good games in general. Z moves, I know people don't really like that much, but I do think that just the Pokemon in and of themselves like have such like vibrant like life to them. Like, I feel like when they were designing them, they had like the mindset of making like designing a character, like designing monsters and characters that have community. It feels like, you know what I mean? Like having certain boss Pokemon like have like henchmen and shit was like a really nice, unique touch, but every Pokemon felt like they were a part of something, you know? Like, okay, so like Komodo and his little Jangmo-O niggas, right? Like it just felt like, yeah, he was the chief. Wishy-Washy is a school of niggas, like a whole community type thing, right? You have like I don't know how to explain it. I'm not really that good at explaining it, but I feel like togetherness is like the vibe of, or like the theme of the game. which you could definitely see from Lusamine, Lily, and Gladion. You could see that with them like not being together, but like, you know, yearning for family and like togetherness with each other, or something that they definitely wanted. So I do see that there's like a theme with that, and then it's also within the gameplay too. The only thing I don't necessarily like is how they like redo the Pokedex entries to make the megas like seem painful, because megas are cool as shit, but they made it seem like mega evolving is like the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to for a Pokemon. And it's like, bro, they enjoy it, bro. I promise you they enjoy it. But I guess the Pokedex has its own ideas, right? Okay, so Sword and Shield. I don't like this game in specific parts. I think Sword and Shield base game, not good at all. It does require the DLC to kind of carry it, and even then the first DLC isn't even that good, and then the second DLC only lasts like maybe 2 hours for like the story, and then everything else kind of requires you to play with friends in order for it to be really fun. Like, it could still be fun. I could see you like trying to find like enjoyment out of the game if it's single player, if you try to like just do it for the challenge of it all, I guess. But I genuinely think that the DLC, as fun as the DLC was, I don't think it was enough to save the game from mediocrity. I feel like people like are like half and half on this game. I think the designs for the characters are really cool, but it suffers the same fate as actually no, I'm lying my ass off. This shit's definitely better than X and Y. Okay. It's not the worst Pokemon game. It's definitely not the worst Pokemon game, but it's definitely actually trying to think. Actually, it might be the worst Pokemon game, deadass. I don't know, because I can't see a world where Diamond and Pearl are the worst Pokemon games. Like, in my heart of hearts, I can't just rightfully say that. Like, even though I have issues with Diamond and Pearl that Platinum fixes, I don't know if... No, but then again, it might be. Okay, I think this makes sense for me. Okay. I think this makes sense. Because like I said, I love Sinnoh, but that's why Platinum is there. I'm never playing Diamond and Pearl ever again. I might play Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl just to fucking connect my shit to Pokemon Home. I might play fucking Red and Blue, or maybe even Crystal, like, right? I might play those over Heart Gold and Silver, and Fire Red and Leaf Green, but I will never, ever touch Diamond and Pearl again, since they've given us a more modernized version of it, which I do think is the reason I'll put it this low. But yeah, Sword and Shield, I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of the game. I think the wild area is very like boring. I got like the idea of it, like, because a lot of things for Pokemon games are like they're tests for another game. Like, they'll go ahead and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and put we're gonna go ahead and make an open world game for Scarlet and Violet, but we need to test out Pokemon popping up in the middle of nowhere, so we're gonna make a wild area. And then they'll be like, all right, we're gonna do Pokemon following you for a little bit in the DLC for Sword and Shield, but then they'll go ahead and have them fully follow you when you're playing Scarlet and Violet also. Like, a lot of the mainline games are tests for the next mainline game, which I don't like at all. I feel like they should just either fully, you know, do it, or just don't do it at all, honestly. But it does feel kind of half-assed in that regard. And then also the region in and of itself, it's just a straight line. I don't know if y'all seen pictures of the fucking region. It's just a straight line. Like, going up, you're just going up one straight line. So yeah, Sword and Shield, I don't know. I think they have cool Pokemon. I like the Pokemon that are in the game. Like, this is not like knocking any of the Pokemon that are in said games. It's like going based purely off of like everything, right? Like the Pokemon, the story, the characters, the performance, and I'm gonna say the performance issues in this game were not good. Okay, Legends Arceus, I will go ahead and say, is probably the best game in A tier. I could probably say that very confidently. I don't think that there is a game in A tier that is better. Yeah, and I think it's just because it's just a unique, fresh take on the game, and also it makes catching Pokemon not feel tedious. I think Pokemon felt tedious for a long time after a while, because you're catching Pokemon, even in the base Red and Blue, like, you're running into Pokemon that you don't want to run into. It's really annoying, and like, it just pisses me off a lot. But I will say I'm very welcome to the change that Legends Arceus did. Just in terms of collecting, like, and having a collection, like a collectathon, I guess. I don't know, like a collecting monster game. I think they did a really good job, and I would prefer to replay this game over any other Pokemon game, honestly, mainly because it's so different. But yeah, there's not to say there's no issues. There's a lot of crust on it, right? Which is what stops it from going to S. Like, there's a lot of crust, a lot of frame drops. There's not that much to do post game, besides just catching more Pokemon and stuff, which is fine, I guess. And then also fighting Arceus, which is really, really fucking cool. That was like probably the coolest thing that they've actually done for the post game. But that's pretty much it. And I think that's another thing that kind of hurts it. I feel like like, they talk so much about other regions and shit, like Johto. I'm hoping that the next Legends game after ZA does kind of take us back in time again, so that way we can see what Johto would have looked like in that time. But I think Legends Arceus is a good game. I just think there's so many things that stop it from getting to S, and it's really only visuals and performance, and that's about it. Like, performance wise, this shit's it's not that great, but it works though. It does work, unlike this other game. The last game I'm about to put up, Scarlet and Violet. All right, so this is the latest Pokemon game that we have until Legends ZA drops. I'm not gonna lie, it's not as bad as everybody says it is. All right, is it ugly? Yes. Does it run like shit? Yes. Did it crash every single time that I wanted to play online with my friends at launch? Yes. Was it fun? Yeah, at times. It had good music. The characters aren't that bad, genuinely. I think that we actually had some pretty decent characters in a Pokemon game, which, shit, it took them a couple of years, but, you know, we got it in Gen 9, right? I think Gen 7 had good Pokemon characters, but I think Scarlet and Violet kind of made them feel a lot more connected, I guess. There's a few issues that I have with Scarlet and Violet, like being the performance issues, obviously, the visuals, and also just the way that you can't not wear a school uniform. I feel like that part was actually like the dumbest thing. I guess it was so that they didn't have to make a bunch of like clothes and shit for their characters, but I don't know. It was that part made me feel like I had like barely any individuality when it comes to this game. Like, pretty much most people are gonna wear the same shit that I wear, and I'm not gonna even look that much different. Which, me, I want to look different, at least in the video game. You know, I want to make sure I look as different as possible to like your average person, so that way, like, when you see me battling you, that is like, oh yeah, this is the same guy wearing the same fucking fit as me. Like, that shit's ass. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Like, they do have some variation, but like almost guaranteed, a lot of the stuff that was like in the Blueberry Academy DLC and stuff, everybody probably switched over to that shit too, like right after the game got that DLC. And since we're on the topic of DLC, I will say this game's DLC was much better than Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, I feel like the first DLC for the Isle of Armor was just for the VGC niggas, whereas this game gave VGC people and people that like playing single player a lot of stuff, right? We have shit. We had story, we had good Pokemon, we had like 4 Pokemon for Teal Mask, with like Okidogi, Pheasantipity, Monkey Dory, and then Ogerpon, and then obviously later on we ended up getting Pecharunt, and then we had like some pretty good stories too for that. I feel like that it was pretty decent. I mean, I don't really like Kieran that much as a character after he like got mad at us and shit because I caught the Pokemon. Like, I'm the main character, bro. I don't know. Which I will say, that's another issue I have with Pokemon games, is that there's always going to be a legendary Pokemon and another person's going to obviously feel connected to it, but as the main character, I always have to catch them because I'm the main character. Why the fuck? And then I get mad at, they get mad at me, which I will say that's like the one thing I do think is realistic and I do kind of like about Kieran's shit. Is like, okay, this is a realistic reaction to it, but at the end of the day, I'm the main character, not you, so you can stay mad. And then yeah, he ended up doing the same shit in the Indigo Disc with Terapagos and catching it before you and shit, and then him getting mad. Like, I don't know, you know, it's some bullshit. At least with Kieran, but I think everybody else is cool too. Carmine was dope. I like the tie-in with Legends, Arceus and shit. I like that they gave us Blood Moon Ursaluna. It did feel like they didn't necessarily just let Arceus just die out there, so it was cool to see those show up. But like I said, I can't ignore the crust, like the immense crust. Like Legends Arceus had crust, but this shit has immense crust. And then also another thing I wanted to say, going from Legends Arceus into playing Scarlet and Violet and having the option to like catch Pokemon like the way that you want to without having to battle them in Legends Arceus, and having that not be available in Scarlet and Violet sucked a lot. Like it really did. I really did not like that at all. So I think that's like another issue that I have with the game, is that they didn't trust in the fact that people wanted those changes. So they just decided like, all right, well, we're just not gonna change. So I'm hoping after Legends ZA, they see like, yes, we love being able to catch Pokemon without having to go into battle with them, because obviously that's what you can do in like the anime and shit. Hopefully they make those changes for the next generation. But with that being said though, Scarlet and Violet, I'm gonna put it at B, top of B. I don't think it's as bad as people say. I don't think it's that great of a game. I don't think it's that amazing, but I do think that it's probably the top of B for me. I would say it's relatively enjoyable. I'll probably play it over any other game on the Switch for Pokemon besides Legends Arceus. Actually, I gotta order some of these again. Well, actually, I'll order my top 3, but my top 3 should not be that surprising. Like if you've known me, these are the best fucking Pokemon games, guaranteed. And there's not a lot of games, so you know, but this is definitely the best Pokemon games that we have on the Switch. So top 5 basically is Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black 2, White 2, Legends Arceus, and then Black and White. But my top 3 is gonna be these. But I think if I was to order it, I think it goes Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black 2, White 2, then Platinum, guaranteed. This is definitely it. But with that being said though, if you guys have any opinions on this, I know this one kind of went longer than I thought. I have a lot of opinions on Pokemon games, so this went on a little bit longer than I thought it was gonna be. Maybe if I edit it, it won't be as long. But if you have any opinions on my opinions, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.